Welcome ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dychronic, your host here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be taking a look at my top 10 PvE heavies in Destiny 2. And of course, as always, this is subjective, based on my opinion of the weapons that I like to use and the game types that I like to play, with a focus on Grandmasters and Raids and the high level content, but with still application to the middle as well. And of course, as always, I have made a spreadsheet for this video, which can still be found fully public at my Discord server, link in the description down below, on the channel, #SpreadsheetDocs. And if you ask me where you can find the spreadsheets in the comments down below, I'll make fun of you because you didn't watch the first 10 seconds of the video. And of course, for those people who do, cute animals on the screen. Something that I do like to do because I like looking up cute animals is just to say thank you for watching this video. And again, for those who do watch this part of the video, I actually have a giveaway going on right now. Astro A10 headset, Blue Yeti microphone, link in the description down below. Moving on to the main section of this video, let's go ahead and take a deep dive into the spreadsheet. And as you can see on screen right now, this is my spreadsheet. Dark theme, color-coded, pictures, links to certain exotic quests, legendary recommendations for perks, catalyst information for all of the weapons I was considering for this video, as well as special variations of certain weapons, whether it has special perks or has certain special combinations of how you'd use it. A lot of things are listed here in many different ways, as well as, on the right side, the DPS calculations. And in fact, my favorite part about these heavies and specials for PvE is doing the DPS calculations, showing what weapons do the most damage per second, or the most full ammo damage, or all the little bits in between. And of course, as always, it's important to keep in mind that DPS is not everything. You can see number one is it's all the way down here. Anarchy is all the way near the bottom of the list, but it's still at number one because there's more factors that come into play. The full ammo damage is important. The burst damage in a clip is important. The better reloads, the clip size, special perks, utility with champion rounds, the range, how you can use with AoE hits. There's so many things that come into play. They're all very important to ranking these weapons. And of course, I obviously have my top 10 that's very visible, very easy for you to understand here, but the reasons why certain things are good, what you'd use these things in, are going to be important. So throughout this video, we're going to go through each category of weapon, rocket, grenade launcher, sword, and talk about what certain things are in the meta, why they're in the meta, and why certain things are not in the meta. And many of you may not be interested in this kind of format, but it really will help you understand the Destiny 2 meta, and maybe you'll find certain diamonds in the rough you didn't consider. Moving on, let's talk about the first category. We have the linear fusion rifles, which got a pretty big buff this season, 15% more crit multiplier and 20% more reserve ammo. On average, increasing their full ammo damage by about 30%, which is rather significant. It puts them up there as one of the best range full ammo damage options. And with that in mind, I actually think that they're best suited in Grandmasters and actually nothing below that. I've said many times, DPS is not always the most important thing. In the highest level play, full ammo damage, because of ammo economy, because enemies take so long to kill, because ammo doesn't drop as often, having more full ammo damage is often more important. And these linear fusion rifles are doing exactly what they're meant to do. And on top of that, they can be used pretty piecemeal. Something like a rocket, you use 1/7 of all of your ammo in one shot. This has 20 ammo, allowing you to bonk enemy shields, do DPS to bosses, kill majors. Even if you want to, I guess you could shoot at red bars. Which leads me to my biggest point, is that they have nearly infinite range. This makes you very safe, especially in Grandmaster Nightfalls, which is not something that you care that much for below that. And Bungie is not going to be pushing up weapons that have this much range more than it is currently. So in my opinion, I think they're in a decent space right now, but not enough to be ranked, not a particular situation that would need it, but maybe I need some more time to get used to them. And surprisingly, Sleeper is not the best option, which is weird. Up next, let's talk about heavy machine guns. Now, heavy machine guns kind of go back and forth. In the lower and middle level play, they absolutely rip apart enemies, and they're very comfortable to use at pretty much any range. On top of that, their full ammo damage is also really nice. Anything above 400,000 I consider to be very good full ammo damage in relevance to this spreadsheet. However, their DPS is actually quite low, and in the highest level content, that sustainability, where you have to sustain yourself in the middle of the open, becomes a liability. It makes you very vulnerable and can die very easily. The main reason why these ones are in the top 10, specifically the 450s and 360s, is because they can be used in match game to pop enemy shields from a very safe range. And this seems very minimal, but it's so important considering there's match game, there's extra shields, there's major shields, and there's the heroic modifier, making shields so much stronger. If your guy with Void dies and you have a commemoration, you still have an option to dump that shield. And it also helps as an okay DPS option as compared to some specials and all primaries. And when it comes to the other options, like the 900s, it's just, they're just really way too uncontrollable. Outside of that, the best heavy machine gun is obviously going to be Xenophage, with probably like over 3 or 4 times as much DPS has a similar amount of full ammo damage, and also the AoE effects. Xenophage is an excellent weapon to use in a lot of scenarios. However, it doesn't do anything really that special. It's not the best range DPS option. It doesn't have champion rounds, and it doesn't really have any synergy with different artifact mods this season. So that's why it's not higher up in the top 10, but still an excellent and very easy weapon to use. Up next, let's talk about the rocket launchers. Very quickly becoming a fan favorite kind of weapon, considering how powerful they are, considering how many buffs they got in the last few seasons. They're doing incredibly well. On top of their massive AoE hits, their incredible burst damage, their great full ammo damage, still around the 400,000 level, and a lot of new options that got put into play over the last few seasons. Now, the biggest reason why they're so powerful is because of those buffs. First of all, a couple seasons ago, we got a reserve buff, making them have more rockets. Last season, we got 30% more damage just across the board, and we also got this new perk called Lasting Impressions, which also increases the damage by 25% on top of all of that, which really made the difference. 30% was not really the difference maker. It was the 30% plus the 25% plus the reserve bonus that really made them a much more viable option. And when it comes to the archetypes, they're all pretty much the same. Precision frames, high impact frames, aggressive frames. They all do the same damage per shot, and they all shoot at about the same RPM. It doesn't say that they do, but they do. I don't know why this one's marked as 15, this one's marked as 25. It's all pretty much the same RPM with reload. I would say the only downside to rockets is they can't be really used that piecemeal. When you fire a rocket, it's 1/7 of your entire capacity. You have to use them on bosses, on majors, or massive groups of enemies. You can't use them to break certain shields, and the ammo economy off of heavy bricks is also very low as well. Maybe you get 2 rockets from a brick. And of course, we have truth all the way up here with DPS because it has 3 rockets in a tube, less reloading. Up next, let's talk about these swords. Probably the second best weapon type of any heavy weapon in the game, and even after their very slight nerfs, I still think they're excellent. And for your king of swords, I still think it's gonna be Lament. Even after getting 16% less damage with the Banshee's Wail ×10 heavy attack, that only really affects your overall damage by maybe 5%. On top of the fact that it has much larger cleave effect, area effect hits with its Banshee's Wail, you also heal while hitting enemies, which is really big in melee range, and you also have barrier rounds, which is not often applicable, but can be useful. And I still use Lament for very heavy burst in different activities, including Grandmasters. After that, we have the Crown Splitter, the only aggressive frame Titan-only sword in the game. Very slow to swing, huge cleave effects, and incredible total ammo damage, and with energy accelerant, doubling that heavy ammo damage, or not the heavy ammo, the heavy attack damage, which is currently a glitch. It's only supposed to work with Dragonfly and Chain Reaction and stuff like this, but it actually works with the heavy attack, which makes its damage insane. Now, I know what you're probably asking yourself, why is this at number 4, considering it's a legendary option instead of Lament? Firstly, again, Lament heals you. That's a huge thing. It has barrier rounds. Crown Splitter is also very slow to swing. Has a lot of beginning lag on its heavy attack that you're often killed while doing. For example, the Falling Guillotine's heavy attack comes out immediately with longer end lag, which is very useful at stumbling a target early or killing a target before it can kill you. And then finally, it's only for Titans, so not everybody can use it. Following that, we have the cluster of main swords, the adaptive frames, and Falling Guillotine. I don't include the Warlock sword in here because it doesn't have Vorpal or Whirlwind, but for the most part, these are still doing very similar to each other. Falling Guillotine is going to be more of your burst damage option with less total ammo damage and it's heavy, and adaptive frames are going to be more of your consistent damage. And from my testing, they have pretty much the same DPS and full ammo damage with those particular perks. And finally, we have Temptation's Hook at number 10, a pick that many of you probably are surprised by, but I have a very good reason. Firstly, when it comes to swords, they're going to be all about getting into someone's face, doing a lot of damage very quickly, and having a lot of total ammo damage. And firstly, the Temptation's Hook does do exactly that, on top of having a range component. Now, the normal heavy attack using 8 ammo is not very viable in my opinion, but if you guard right before using your heavy attack, you only use 1 ammo. And if you want to break an arc shield from range, with the sword gives this weapon an incredibly high versatility and something I have and will use in Grandmaster Nightfalls. Again, it's a bit clunky, the animation's a bit long, but the versatility of range and the ability to dump DPS on stun champions is very useful. And finally, the best weapon type in the game, we have the grenade launchers. Quite literally all over the place. Prospector's the best DPS in the entire game, Salvation's Grip is the worst DPS in the entire game, and then grenade launchers littered literally everywhere at number 1 and number 2 for Anarchy and Infinite 6. When it comes to the legendary versions, the adaptive 120s are objectively better because the 150s do less damage per shot, less DPS, and less full ammo damage, while also not having more total ammo. They're just objectively worse. When it comes to the 120 options, the Interference 6 is very much set aside as compared to the other 120 options. It is the only thing that can have spike grenades, plus a magazine perk like autoloading, field prep, or clown cartridge, and a damage perk like full court or swashbuckler. Quite literally the best possible 120 you can have at this point outside of new perks, and none of the other ones have a similar combination. And when you look at its DPS and its full ammo damage, it's hitting it out of the park. And if you consider the fact that the reload time is cutting the DPS in half effectively, if you just fired 6 shots, the DPS over those 6 shots is closer to 70,000 damage per second. And again, the highest you've ever seen here is Celestial at 55,000. Now, I know you're asking yourself, at what point are you going to fire 6 shots and not reload? Auto-loading. Auto-loading is the answer to that question. You fire 6 shots, switch to your slug shotgun, which also has auto-loading, switch to your other slug shotgun that also has auto-loading, and you switch back. You never have to spend time reloading. Just dealing damage with other weapons at the same time is really mind-blowing. On top of its piecemeal use of 16 ammo, its AoE explosions, its incredible and easy to use perks, this is going to be your king of the crop legendary weapon. And the only reason it's not at number 1 is because there's Anarchy doing things a little bit better. Not DPS wise, but the combination DPS of being able to stick a target with Anarchy, 2 shots, and then switch to a special ammo and deal damage at the same time as something else is really a game changer. On top of its 2 million full ammo damage, quite literally being above and beyond everything else outside of this Chaos Energy Accelerant from, you know, the Crown Splitter, which is really not fair. It's dealing way too much total ammo damage, and in my opinion, does deserve to be looked at, and Bungie's already said that they're probably going to be nerfing it. So keep that in mind. On top of all the other artifact mods this season with grenade launchers, it's going to get a big change next season, but still probably be an excellent option. And the last thing I'll say, again, you guys really have to understand, total ammo damage in Grandmaster Nightfalls makes a massive difference, and I would highly recommend you consider that anytime you're looking at damage. And of course, these videos and my spreadsheets would not be possible without my patrons on Patreon. Truly, and hear me out here, they take 10 to 20 hours every week, and I make absolutely no money from them. I probably make less money by directing you to the spreadsheets instead of watching the videos again. But I love these spreadsheets. I love this product, and I know a lot of you guys do love it too. So if you want to see them continue, please consider checking out my Patreon. If you gave maybe $3 or $5 a month for 40 to 80 hours worth of work, I'd say that's a pretty good deal. And that's going to be pretty much the end of the video. I do hope you guys did enjoy. My name's Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.